and welcome back to the Still Becoming podcast. If you're new here, we're so glad you found us. And if you're returning, thank you for joining us on this journey as we continue to grow, reflect, and become. In our first episode, we introduced ourselves and shared a little bit about why this podcast exists. Today, we want to go deeper in an honest and unfiltered way. So we're starting this episode with a question I've been dying to ask my co-host and answer myself. Seth, I'd love to start with you first. What is one word you would use to describe who you're becoming in this season of your life?
Thank you for that question, Jazzy. The word I chose is gentle. I chose this word because for a long time, I measured growth by how much I could push through or hold myself together. Gentleness felt like something I'd get to after I proved I was strong enough. In this season, this word shows up in my life through how I talk to myself, how I pace my days, and how I honor my limits rather than fight them. One thing that this season has been teaching me about myself is that I don't have to be hard on myself to be honest, and I don't have to be exhausted to be worthy.
I really love that word, Seth. When you said gentle, it stood out to me. I'm curious, was there a moment when you realized the shift was happening, or did it creep in slowly over time?
Yeah, Jazzy, honestly, it crept in slowly. I don't think there was a big breakthrough moment. It was more of a series of reflections and quiet realizations. I started noticing how harsh my inner voice was, especially when my body or brain couldn't keep up. Choosing gentleness wasn't about lowering my standards, it was about changing how I respond to myself when things are hard.
Do you feel like becoming this version of yourself requires you to unlearn or let go of anything? Maybe expectations, beliefs, or even survival habits?
Definitely, I've had to unlearn the belief that rest is something you earn and that softness equals weakness. A lot of my survival habits were built around pushing past my limits and ignoring signals until I burnt out. Gentleness has meant trusting that I can care for myself and others before I reach that breaking point.
That actually resonates with me because I also had to learn to be gentle with myself and stop pushing so hard for my goals. I do not do it since the saying that it'll happen when it happens. That's just something that lets the servant.
Drew, here's the talk about her word gentleness and what that means to her. I'm curious, how does the same question land for you?
My word was the teacher. I choose this one because it's a my relationship will always be full, but except for my family and my friends, many of my other relationships have consisted of repeated surface level of affection. This was really the cause of my deep difficulties. When I met David Daniel 2 years ago, they started helping me improve my speech. Mainly from going the everyday feeling expecting me for who I am. This led to 3 hours of video calls where we started opening up and getting to know each other better. I haven't had this kind of relationship with anyone since high school because it's typical for me to take seriously without assistance. So, to really interact with others, I had to see them physically, and that wasn't always possible to watch video calls became a thing. Even with video calling once became available, I did not want to use something when I was not confident in my speech.
Thank you, Drew. Drew's word is deeper. He chose this word because in the past, his relationships were always meaningful. But, except for his family and best friends, many of the other relationships consisted of repeated, surface level conversations. This was mainly because of his speech difficulties. When he met me and Jazzy about 2 years ago, we started helping him improve his speech, mainly through calling him every day and sincerely accepting him for who he was. This led us to spend hours on video calls where we started opening up and getting to know each other better. He hasn't had this kind of relationship with anyone since high school because it's difficult for him to type and text people repeatedly without assistance. So, to really interact with others, he had to see them physically. And that wasn't always possible before video calls became a thing. Even when video calling platforms became available, he did not want to use them because he was not confident in his speech.
Something that really stood out to me was how much your confidence has grown. Not just in your speech, but in letting yourself take up space in conversations and relationships. Do you feel like becoming this version of yourself has changed how you make decisions or how you show up in relationships?
Yes, absolutely, I do. Through my growth, I've been able to deepen my relationship with friends and colleagues.
What's been the most challenging part of leaning into your word? And what's been surprisingly freeing?
I've been casting surprisingly freeing on front, gaining confidence in my speech has left me less long also taking my previously kept side, especially when limited to bring conversations. I, I'm grateful for deeper relationships that they could also bring more conflict.
Drew would like to discuss the surprisingly freeing part first. Gaining confidence in his speech has let him express long held opinions he previously kept inside, especially when limited to brief conversations. He's grateful for deeper relationships, but they can also bring more conflict.
What I'm hearing in both of your stories is this unlearning of survival mode, letting go of pushing, rushing, or minimizing yourself to feel worthy or connected. Has this season asked you to slow down or show up more honestly than before?
Yes, this season of my life has taught me that. And my thoughts and feelings don't fit into me handling the way they mostly do before. However, for all who try as we roll on in a flavor more exciting.
Drew feels that this season of his life has taught him that his thoughts and feelings don't fit into neat categories the way they mostly did before. However, the roller coaster ride has been well worth it and has made his life more exciting.
Listening to both of you helps me realize this season is about returning to myself. I chose the word reclaiming. For many years, I was living to meet expectations, survive, and stay safe in relationships, shaping myself around what was needed, which made me lose touch with my inner voice and instinct. Now, I'm taking it slow and being more intentional. I'm learning to trust myself again, notice what feels true, and speak honestly, even if it changes my relationships with others. Reclaiming means choosing alignment over approval, being more authentic in my life rather than performing. I'm not becoming someone new, but coming home to who I've always been meant to be.
Daddy wants us to play the act when we look like what you came today.
I appreciate that thoughtful question, you. Day to day, reclaiming looks like paying attention to myself instead of pushing past my needs. It's noticing when something feels like too much and responding with care instead of self-criticism. It's about asking, does this actually reflect who I am right now? And letting that guide my choices. Sometimes that means slowing down. Sometimes that means speaking up. But it always means moving with intention rather than obligation.
I love what you said about slowing down and checking in with what actually matters, Jazzy. It really highlights how this season is asking us to be gentle with ourselves, to move with intention rather than obligation, and to respond to life with care rather than pressure. Hearing you put it that way makes me see how much gentleness is at the heart of becoming.
Thank you so much, Seth, for your reflection. This next question is for both you and you. Has this season of becoming felt more isolating than you thought it would? Or has it brought more clarity than you expected?
You know, Jazzy, it's actually been a little of both. There has been some isolation, mostly because choosing gentleness meant stepping away from patterns and expectations that used to keep me busy or distracted. But at the same time, it's brought way more clarity than I ever expected. I'm clear about what actually matters to me, what drains me, and what helps me feel like myself. The quiet hasn't always been easy, but it's been really revealing and in a good way.
For me, the season of becoming has not felt isolating. The core I've been able to make deeper connections with more people than ever before.
For Drew, this season of becoming has not felt isolating because he has been able to make deeper connections with more people than ever before.
I appreciate those insights because they show that becoming looks different for everyone. Steph, your comment about quiet being revealing stuck with me. Choosing gentleness sometimes means fewer distractions but more truth. I love that your becoming has expanded your connection and deepened your sense of community. It reminds me that clarity can come from solitude or connection, and neither is more valid than the other. This contrast is significant because whatever season you're in, it matters. For me, it's been a mix of both. Some isolation came with redefining who I am, making specific spaces and relationships feel less safe. Some distance wasn't intentional, but necessary. At the same time, this season has brought clarity. I've noticed who truly sees and appreciates me, who I can be myself with, and where I don't need to perform. It's been lonely at times, but also freeing, as I am rooted in my truth, even if my circle feels smaller. And you two can go back and tell your past selves one day about this season of becoming, what would you say?
I think I'd tell my past self, you're not behind. You're not broken. You're allowed to move at the pace your life requires, and that pace is still meaningful.
I would tell myself to wait for the season to go thoughts of electric would come true.
Drew said he would tell his past self to wait for this season because most of his dreams would come true.
I think I'd tell my past self something similar. That it's okay to take up space as you are, and that it's okay for growth to look messy or slow. That every small step, every pause, every choice to be honest with yourself matters. You're not behind, and you're not failing. You're simply in the process of becoming.
Thank you, Jazzy and Drew, for those thoughtful answers. And you, yes, you at home, if you're listening right now, we want to invite you into this conversation too. Ask yourself, what is one word that describes who you're becoming in this season? And maybe even, what are you reclaiming? You don't have to answer perfectly. You don't even have to have it all figured out. Becoming is supposed to be a slow and intentional process. In our next episode, we're going to dive deeper into our personal stories, how we've arrived at this season of becoming, what shaped us, and the moments that changed us. It's going to be honest, vulnerable, and very real. And we'd love for you to join us for that conversation. You can connect directly with us by sending in your stories to podcaststillbecoming@gmail.com. That is podcaststillbecoming@gmail.com. You can also catch us on X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you for being here with us today and letting yourself be part of the process. You're not behind, you're still becoming. Until next time, enjoy the process of becoming.